A lot of parents wonder if it's possible to do both working and homeschooling. And yes, it is absolutely possible, but you will have to put some systems in place in order for it to work completely. I have only worked from home during the time that my children have been homeschooling, so I can't necessarily speak about experiences for people who work outside of the home, but I do know that there are lots of families that do so. Some tips for working outside the home, based on conversations with some friends that I have, are that you will need to find a plan for your children during your work hours. If you work schedule work and you have a spouse or a partner who's able to work with your children during school time and then you rotate back and forth based on your schedules, that can be helpful. If you're a single parent and you're trying to figure out how to balance working and homeschooling, you will need to find someone to come in to look after your children during the day. If you don't want them to be able to be responsible for the education part of the day, then remember that you have the freedom and flexibility to schedule your days based on your needs. So if you work from 9 to 5, you can do school during the evening hours with your children. There's nothing that says it has to be done during typical traditional school hours. You just need to remember to be flexible and to figure out ways that will allow you to both work and homeschool. If you work from home, I do have some tips for you. The first is to make sure you set aside an intentional period of time for work. Now let's face it, if you have kids at home, you're going to be interrupted probably 93,000 times from when you decide to work until when you decide it's time to work. So some level of flexibility and adaptation is required when you work from home. But if you have an intentional period of time, at least if you're interrupted, you know what you're exactly working on now. So you know that if my child needs a bowl of cereal because it's 8 o'clock and they're hungry, I can go pour them a bowl of cereal, but I know I'm coming back and it's still work time until whenever I've kind of planned for it to end. The other point that I have is that school time is not work time. Despite the fact it can be incredibly frustrating sometimes when your child struggles with math and you could think in your head, well, I could just use my phone to check my email, or I could quickly slap together some ideas for work here. Don't do it. Don't be tempted to spend the time that you're supposed to be focusing on your child, focusing on work instead. Unless this is an obligation that you have to complete within a deadline. If you have things that need to be completed, absolutely put that as a priority first. Remember, we homeschool because our lifestyle allows us for flexibility. So if you need to be flexible because you have a work-related project that you're working on, remember, it's okay to take a break, it's okay to adapt, it's okay to focus on something else first and then add school in later. However, most of the time, put school first. Make sure you're focused right on your kids only during that period of time so that they know that you're prioritizing them instead of putting work first. If it's possible, outsource whatever you can. Find an assistant, find something that will be able to take chunks of work off of your plate if you can afford to do that. Remember, you are not responsible to do every single working piece of your business if you don't have to. So if you can find someone to do some of the pieces of your business for you to take some of that pressure off your plate, it will make it easier for you to succeed. My other tip is be willing to go slow. While you're working home, as I mentioned, you're likely to be interrupted lots of times. Children have to be your priority unless it's a major project, and not every single thing that you do needs to be considered a major project. When you're working at home with children, you're going to have to be expecting that all your goals are going to take longer than you hope that they're going to. You have responsibilities outside of work that are going to demand your time, so be prepared to go slow. Plan ahead. If you know what you're going to be working on, it will make it a lot easier for you to accomplish some work. If you don't know what you're going to be working on, it makes it a lot harder to come back to your work plans and sit down and get back into the action thing. Another idea is to plan wide in advance. So if you know that Christmas is coming up and you usually have a big promotion, or you work on creating products for that, or you're busy crafting for a craft show, plan ahead. Start the plans way earlier than a couple weeks before the show. There's nothing wrong with building Christmas crafts in the middle of the summer, for example. Plan ahead, know what you're going to be working on. It'll help a lot. Writing down lists for every day of what you need to work on really helps as well, because honestly, chipping away at 5-minute intervals, even if that's all the time you can scramble together in one chunk of time, it will allow you to make progress if you can come back and in that 5 minutes know another assignment that you're going to be working on, or what project you're going to be working on next. This can be a method of success that you accomplish as you're still at home with your children. The other tip I have is to work outside the box. Be prepared to find a different way to do things. You may not have hours to sit at your desk answering emails, but there's probably a time during the day when the kids are playing outside or when the kids are going to bed where you can sit on the floor with hall monitor duty and sit on your phone and check your email or post on Instagram or schedule something or whatever you need to do. Okay, these are opportunities, the little opportunities and times in the day when you can work outside of the traditional thought of work to be able to be successful with your business. So it is totally possible to work and homeschool, but once again, you have to be flexible and you have to find actual strategies to put into place so that you can be successful at both homeschooling and working.